Hello everyone, I'm back to do another reading. My name is Denise and I'm with Spiritual Growth Tarot. And my question for the tarot today, I'm going to use a Celtic cross, and I want answers to what, in this lifetime, what karmic consequences will Donald John Trump receive? So the forces in motion, his challenges, what he has control over, what he's done in the past, his near future, or I'm sorry, what's hanging over him with no control, his near future, what he's attracting, others' influence, his distant future, and the outcome. And I'm going to grab the two from the bottom to add to the outcome. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we have the forces in motion. Sorry if the light goes in and out, you guys. It's one of those beautiful cloudy days, you know, where the sky's really blue and the clouds are moving around. So but I'm sitting right in front of a window here that might, you'll see the light change. It works better than having a glaring external light that causes glare a lot. Okay, so the forces in motion are the Queen of, let's move her here, the Queen of Cups. Wow. His challenges, we have the Emperor. Wowee. Okay, what he does have control over, we have the Five of Swords. Okay, in the past, for what he's done, we have the Four of Swords. That's really interesting. What's hanging over him with no control, we have the Five of Wands. Okay. Near future, we have the Two of Pentacles. He's attracting the Four of Wands. Others' influence is the Two of Swords. His distant future is the Three of Pentacles. The outcome is the Hierophant. And more information about the Hierophant, we have the Two of Cups and Lady Justice. Wow. Okay, so interesting is, or what I think is interesting here, is that the Queen of Cups here, as the forces in motion, this to me is, this card is everything that is sacred to family, to children, to honoring, you know, your intuition, honoring your psychic hits, but most of all, deep down inside, you don't get to that clear place where you can trust your intuition without having gone through your emotional reactiveness of the past. You know, which means the past comes up because in each lifetime we have to experience the karma from the past lifetimes that was not yet cleared. So that means we go to our death in each lifetime with a false belief about ourselves and life and others. And whatever that false belief is, it's like a psychic frozen time conglomerate, to quote Barbara Brennan. So we have this like frozen, you know, rigidity, this substance in from our ego and our brain that says, oh, I'm so bad, or this is so bad, or they're wrong, they're bad, you know, I have to. Maybe we died in our last lifetime seeking revenge, right? So then that would mean that you would come into this lifetime, or the person would come into this lifetime with that same need to get even. But in this situation with him, without going into, you know, the way karma works. I'll deal with that in another video at some point. I have like an amazing amount of notes around spiritual videos that I want to do, but for now I want to get us through this really challenging time that we're going through. So anyway, back to him. The forces in motion, I believe, are the karma with his mother and the karma with his family. And it brought him into this lifetime with this big challenge around trusting authority. Because we know, based on Mary Trump's book, she knows that, the history of what happened, and Trump's own sister that spoke with her for, I forget how many hours, but she recorded everything. So anyway, long story short is we know that he, at between 2 and 3 years old, or the time period of between 2 and 3 for that entire year, his mother was very sick and was in the hospital and not able to take care of her children. So his father stepped in and drug all the kids to work with him. And so the real needs, the emotional needs, were not there. Yet the emotional needs went unmet. And from this place, he grew up feeling like probably no one cared about him, or that he, now this doesn't give him carte blanche to be, to act out the way he has been at all. But he has authority issues with his father. And, and you can look at this as like good cop, bad cop kind of energy here, where the mom wasn't there, and, he really, really missed the mom. And then the dad could be like the bad guy, where, where at some point in the healing process, what happens with every soul is that we go towards the parent who was the least loving, and we try to get that love from them in order to win. And so what has happened with him is he's gone towards all the qualities of his father, which taught him never be vulnerable. The Queen of Cups is all about vulnerability, and that is her strength. And she gets that strength because she's cleared out her emotional body. I am not going to say that this card should have been in the upright position. I'm going to read this in the reverse position, which is all about emotional manipulation and the lack of tenderness and care. I see this as his very unhealthy mother. And then kept the lid on her emotions and didn't she didn't know how to handle him. And approval he got seemed to be from his father, or the little bit that he got from both of them had to do with, you amass great wealth, you create your own life, all of that, which we do create our own lives, but he has some type of a soul split that has to do with him not identifying with the healthy mom and dad. I mean, the healthy mom, could be the Empress card if that were here. And in the tarot, the Empress is the mom, and the Emperor is the dad. We can look at it as being the dad. His situation, neither parents were healthy, and he grew up in a very, very unhealthy, home. And so he's grown up, having to compromise himself in a way that, it's like what Mary Trump said in the book, where there's no allowance for being, to be vulnerable is to be weak. There's no allowance for feelings at all. So he's got this deep, deep inner conflict within. The Five of Swords on a spiritual soul level has to do with an inner conflict where it's so broken into duality. So traditionally with the tarot, it's like, yeah, okay, you won the war, or you won this fight, but now you don't have any friends. Everybody's walking away from you. But I see it on a spiritual level as being steeped in duality, where you're in this either or, trap. Either I'm a winner or I'm a loser. And either I'm right or I'm wrong. It's either life or death or pleasure or pain. Either I'm good or bad. It's, one of those 5 dualities. But the truth is who we are as a being, each of us spiritually, we come from a realm that is unified, where it's just it's all bliss, we're all one. But we each have our own unique, spirit. And it doesn't mean that you dissolve into nothingness because you're one with everything. That's not how it works. The way it works is that we have a lifetime, we have lifetimes over and over and over again where we bring in our dualistic split, where we are steeped in duality, and then from there we organize our life around this false belief, whatever this false belief is here. So in this lifetime for him, he has not yet opened up to the place where there's good and bad. There's right and wrong. Like right now, in this moment, I can be wrong and I can be right. That doesn't make me any less, or make any of us any less of a valuable human being. And we don't have to be perfect. But in his duality, in his inner split, in his deepest inner conflict, he believes that he always has to win. So that's what he has control over in his life, is whether or not, in his warped mind, whether or not he's winning or losing. And so he'll always identify with being a winner because that's his method of surviving his parental, the distortion in his home life growing up, where his father was definitely the so-called authority, the authority figure, and the mother was behind the scenes, not really being able to handle the kids, I don't think, very well, because I honestly think she had her own mental illness. But so anyway, what he has done in the past, now this is a really odd card to get in the past, but if we look at it in terms of his family, of his home life, we can see that he had to kind of like lay down and take it, that he was not able to be strong with his father. The only thing that he could have done in order to make it is to align with his father. And we see that that's true because, it was the brother that died, Mary Trump's dad, so Fred Jr., he died, not at a very old age, but he dove into his feelings, and he went through his his addictions and cleared things out, but then still he I guess maybe he went back in and started drinking again, and I'm not so sure if he completely died from alcoholism or if it was more just he couldn't do any more with the family. And his soul, was able to move on. I think he graduated out of the family, actually. So, but death gets a bad rap, which shouldn't. But anyway, but back to Trump and his consequences, his karmic consequences this lifetime. He may have lived through the battle, but he didn't win the war. Because the war is still up here. What's hanging over him with no control is a bunch of people that are, this can be looked at as more than 5. This is the 5 of Wands. But hanging over him is this like battlefield where he's not able to get out of that conflict, that deep inner conflict. And this deep inner conflict down here is at battle with what's up here, which is always competition and him needing to be the one on top. Now, he's not, that's not going to be him because this whole read is about the consequences of his, onto his lifetime. and his karmic consequences that he'll be receiving. So this is a very, very strong card up here with the Five of Wands, because it's all about just constant conflict, strife, struggle. It doesn't have anything to do with thriving. It has to do with just, the constant striving for the place on top. So there's constant disagreement. He's always fighting. And it's not a good way to live. So that's hanging over him the rest of his lifetime. Now, his near future, which I would venture to not say is limited to 6 weeks or even 6 months, but it's just the future. It's part of the future, and as well as this is the distant future. Notice we have the Two of Pentacles and the Three of Pentacles. So these two cards are tied together intimately, and this is about him always negotiating, and this is about dark money. This is about his money that hasn't been clean in the past. So this constant manipulation. This card has everything to do with manipulating everything that you can in order to try and bring your ship in. This also, one of my awesome subscribers pointed out to me that that this jester, there's a jester hat, and this definitely could indicate Russia. This is like a Russian hat here. But what she taught me was that the jester, she reminded me that in the old days that the jester was the only one that could get away with making fun of the king. So that's what he has coming towards him in his future, is a lot of people making fun of him. And it's because he has been so manipulative, and he won't stop. He won't stop with this, like, trying to make deals. I don't think that that's going to stop at all. Now, what he's attracting with the Four of Wands, this, to me, the fours are always, they're about completion and stability, but they can also become very stagnant because they're not open. While the fives are always like conflict, chaos, and big challenges, the fours are stable, but they can definitely get into the realm of stagnancy. So yeah, he's got the happy home life that he can celebrate to some extent. He does have this so-called like happy family. This could be looked at as Mar-a-Lago. But then we've got justice, and we have other cards around to challenge this. So this can definitely have to do with moving on, a transition. Something was stable in the past, but then the fives come in. The Five of Wands is up here. These two cards. This is the Four of Wands. Here's the Five of Wands. So this, I believe, would be read in the inverse, the reversed position, which has to do with a breakdown in communication and a transition and a moving on. It's like the opposite of a celebration and having a happy home and community. Now, moving into the other, what others have as influence over him, this is the stalemate card. This is, I believe that these are the voters, coming up who can't decide on him. They just can't seem to go forward, banking on, on what he's done in the past, because he hasn't delivered. He hasn't delivered any of the promises, right? Yeah, the stock market may be up, but that's all a house of cards that's going to fall in someday anyway, because it's all propped up right now by the feds, and that will be another whole situation that we'll have to change in the future. And of course, usually it recovers. We usually have every 10 years like something that goes bad, but I don't know. I'm not in the stock market anymore, but for all intents and purposes with this guy, the decisions that the voters have over him is not going to be good, because he's been laying down on his promises. He hasn't been able to come through with his promises. And, you know, the stock market is not a good indicator of, the stock market is not a good indicator of the economy anyway. Because when it tanks, you know, then everyone's 401ks and IRAs and, you know, all the other, you know, funds, the money that can come through on the interest, just it isn't there when it drops, and you have to hang on to it for another 10 years to get it back, hopefully. You know, and not everybody can do that. So, you know, if you are in the stock market, just make sure it's not very much in there. It should not be any of your, it should be very, very, very disposable income, because that's maybe what it could turn out to be. So he hasn't delivered on the stock market, and he hasn't delivered on his wall, and he hasn't delivered. The only wall that's up is around the White House right now. I mean, there's wall across some of the borders, but of course it's, you know, it's fallen apart, and kids can climb over it in, like, you know, something like 15 to 30 seconds. Yeah, and some of it is just fallen over in the winds. But anyway, back to him and his karmic consequences for this lifetime. People will not be able to decide on him, and the distant future for him has him just still tied in the dark money. But then the outcome here has to do with, maybe he has the evangelical, some of the evangelical base, and maybe he has partnerships from some people who want to keep things the way that they were in the past, because the Hierophant is all about conformity. And, you know, it can be about the laws in place, but I tend to look more to the Hermit card as being the spiritual laws that are within each one of us. You know, the laws that, like, where you know what is right and wrong deep down inside of you, and you don't need any outside authority to tell you that. But these guys think that they have the keys to the kingdom, and these are all the man-made laws, you know, the Justice Department and the man-made laws. And so he has karma with this whole system. He has karma with the justice system and the man-made laws. So let's use the Lenormand and ask financially, how is this all going to work out for him? Because we know that he has enough of his soul substance tied into, you know, thinking that money is the only thing that makes him who he is, and that's his means of, you know, winning. But, you know, it's not really winning, but that's just where he is. So I would think that by spiritual law, a person would have to lose all of that in order to find out who they really are, which is something much bigger than just money. But will he get there in this lifetime? Or will he lose all his money? Will he be losing all his money? He's in a lot of fear over that, that's for sure. I could just feel he's very, anytime I have to tap into his energy, he's just really, really tight. And he's in a tremendous amount of fear. Okay, so we have the fox, the woman, the island, the letter, the anchor, the clover. Let's see, I can move these over a bit. Okay. And then we have the fish, the rider, crossroad, magic lamp, mountain, and owls. And this is the Golden Dreams Lenormand by Taroko Studio. Okay, so with the fox and the woman, this looks to me like I think this woman is trying to tune in. Who is this woman? Is it Ivanka or is it? I feel like it's Ivanka. Ivanka, not Melania. But he is going to try and sneak off with some woman, but which I think is Ivanka, to some other island later on after the votes come in and block him. Yeah. So his goals are small, but there's still a little bit there, but they're very, very risky. There's oh my goodness. There could be some woman that steals his money. There's a theft of his money. So maybe this isn't Ivanka. But then again, who else would be well suited to steal his funds? Right? She's a part of Trump organization, and I doubt she wants to go down with the sinking ship unless she leaves with him, unless they all leave together. But there's a theft of his money as they make some choices, but to bring in all the wishes to get away. And then this has to do with, this could be a secret enemy. A secret enemy from a long, someone a long ways away. These two together are like, because they tie together here. They're like, this is like an unattainable dream. This is like something you can't get. This can be, you got to be careful what you wish for as well. But it's like, this is all, these two cards combined are like the Seven of Cups in the Tarot, where it's like, you do have options, but it's very, very diluted. It's like they're, this person's ideas about life don't have anything to do with reality at all. But it definitely shows plans for a better future, and this woman is the one with the plans for the better future. And the letter card can have to do with documents that support the goals. This could also have to do with votes that, like I said before, that sink him from getting away. From, the riskiness where he wants to get away, or the opportunity to get away. Wow. So his plans and her plans have nothing to do with reality, and they have hidden enemies that are very wise. Wow. So this is a loss to his money. So I don't believe that he will be able to take off with all the money that he wants. That is really interesting. Yeah, it's like this big fantasy. There's just this fantasy of getting away with the money. So either there's, well, you know what, honestly, if this were like Letitia James or somebody that's, but then again, it could be read in two ways, where this is Letitia James. But what I was going to say is, if this were a legal woman, I would expect to see the Tower card with that, here, which is a completely different meaning than the Tower in the Tarot. Wow. Let's try just using simple, because I'm asking a simple yes or no question. Let me quickly remove the cards, these extended cards, because we have more than 36 here. Let me get rid of these real quick and reshuffle and find, get a yes or no as to whether or not he's going to make off with much money. Because all the Lenormand cards have yes and no meanings. The 1 through 36. I don't know about these other ones. I guess you could kind of intuit. Okay, so yes or no. Will he make off? Will he be able to keep his money or keep enough money to still live a wealthy lifestyle in his lifetime? So it's a yes or no, and you can also show me why. This is a no. Okay, let's go deeper into why. Okay. So we have the ship. Oops, it was the ship, the moon, the coffin, the broom or whip or birch rod, however you want to read that, the heart, and the garden. Okay, so with the ship, we're looking at, this is a maybe card because it's neutral. With the moon, this is a yes card, but this is a no card. So this is why I had to draw a few more cards. So we've got a maybe yes, but no, because something ends. And this is a no card as well, because it ends, what ends is the abuse. And the yes card is to the public. Now this also can have to do with interactions, but it's most of all public. And it's a maybe card, it's a neutral card as well. But what I'm getting here is that the public cares about being about the integrity of the United States and being compensated for everything that he has stolen. He has violated the 25th Amendment, the Emoluments Clause. He and Pence are, they're exempt from the Hatch Act, but not everybody that attended his rally the other night at the RNC, last day of the rally at the White House, that was in complete violation. So those, I don't know how many of those 1,500 people that attended were public or, were employed by the government or part of his administration. But all those people need to be fined or written up or jailed or whatever it is that they, whatever the law states about that. But so far nothing's being done because of Mitch McConnell and all of his, and Bill Barr, these these corrupt individuals who are enabling him. So I would say, when it comes to the money, no, because the public cares about the truth coming out. Because then we have to look at, if we just look at the facts here, the facts tell us that, yes, he does have resorts in the United States, but those assets can be seized. And he doesn't really have, he has his resort in Scotland, and I think maybe one in Ireland as well, and maybe those, no, I think that we have agreements with countries in the United Kingdom that would protect the taxpayers. I think that we would prevail in that department. So, yeah, okay, well, if I keep going on, I think I'll just be going in circles for now. So this was August 31st, and we'll go further into it later on as events arise. Okay, thank you. Bye.